Hello? Oh, hello, 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 hello. I can't hear you. Oh, no.
Hello?
Oh, what's happening? Let me try pressing the button.
Something's gone wrong.
Oh, he's gone. What?
Call me. Call me.
You just sent Simon away? I think so.
Come on, Lee Miller. You can do it. We've been doing this for years now. One more
Oh, no,
time.
I didn't know that.
Once more with feeling.
Right.
I knew it when I was at the front.
Ah, right. So apparently the problem is that every Saturday our phone calls go through to Bob's phone, which is why she just hung up on you.
Really? Was that Bob?
Yeah, that was Bob hanging up. Anyway.
So how is it possible that...
Oh, do not even ask me to try and explain the complexities of a shared iCloud account.
Oh, it's so messed up, isn't it?
It's super messed up, which is why people say, oh, are you Lee? Are you Bob? I'm like, oh, God, I don't know.
Well, both of your...
It's an existential
It's only your
crisis.
photo for both of your phones. So hang on, did her phone read... seriously, every week her phone goes and it's me calling her?
Apparently so. I was unaware of this.
Maybe we should just make a rule. Let's make it a rule. Una regola that you call me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll do that.
This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing.
Do you know what I was just? Just before we came on air, as they say in the business,
as it were.
There was a ladybird in the house, and
was it a black and red?
It was,
or a yellow and red? Okay,
black and red. And I tried to do that thing where I tried to pick it up, and of course it went kick and froze in its body, and then I scooped it onto my hand. And then went outside and tried to put it onto the railing with the handrail, and it was very stuck to my hand. So I had to sort of shake it, and it fell onto its back, and immediately its legs went out.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever seen a ladybird get off its shell onto its front?
I don't know that I have.
So it kind of waves its legs around a little bit, and then opens its wings, and then basically does a Jackie Chan kind of like back, and then except it sort of does that backwards, like over its head. It was quite the flip, quite amazing, actually, really very beautiful. But why it didn't go straight to that, as opposed to just waving its legs around a little bit? That's the thing that got me. I was in awe of the maneuver for sure, but it was how long it spent waving its legs around. I mean, surely it must have been in this position before in its life. Like maybe that works sometimes. I guess it works for academics, so that you just sort of shake your hands and arms around and things happen.
Well, I wonder, is it because sometimes a ladybird might accidentally land on something soft that would kind of give it enough give to sort of just like wiggle itself back around, and it doesn't always need to deploy the actual like boomph of the wing? I wonder. I don't know. I don't know a lot about ladybirds, but I do know this. First of all, for our North American listeners, you will be thinking of them as ladybugs.
Ah, of course. I forget that.
We call them ladybirds.
I mean, ladybugs
in the UK and in Australia.
But what's with the lady thing, though?
Because they're cute. And ladies are cute. I don't know.
No?
I don't know.
Nice accent.
I don't know. But I do have an experience with ladybirds, and it was horrific. It was an horrific experience. Bob and I used to live in the north of England, and I think this is... I'm going to just shout into the other room. 1 second. Bob Wally, you know when the ladybird thing in Blackpool happened? Yes. Were we living in Lancaster at the time? Is that what we'd done? We'd gone over from Lancaster for the day?
Lancaster at the time. Where were you that day? You went all northern. Super.
Now you know what? Oh, I know. We'll talk about that in a minute. Sorry, what were you saying, Simon?
You just went all super northern then, in the way you would.
Sorry.
At the time, I can't even do the accent, but it was
At the time. At the time.
yeah, it was stronger. Anyway, yeah.
I do get.
So you've had confirmation from
quite
Bob.
northern. Yes, so this would have been around about the time we were doing our master's degrees, and maybe just a little bit after. Because we lived in Lancaster, which is where we both did our masters. I did it 1 year, Bob did it the next, and we lived there for a year or two afterwards. So we were there for about 4 or so years. And Lancaster is inland, but not massively inland, and it's quite near to Blackpool. Blackpool, for
On
those
the
of
ocean,
you who
on
are
the sea, on the
unfamiliar-
ocean.
Exactly.
It's a
It's
seaside
on the sea.
town.
It's on the exactly. It's on the North Sea, and it was historically a very, very big, popular holiday destination.
It definitely has seen better days.
I would say, like most seaside towns in the UK.
Yeah, because
That
basically
haven't-
everyone
that
just
ha-
went to Spain.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
So in the
Portugal.
sort of 60s and 70s, I think it was Spain first. You're right, and then Portugal, and then some people go to Italy. Who knows where people go on holidays now? All over the world. Bali,
Mostly pigs, though, isn't it?
mostly pigs.
Yeah, Portugal, Italy, Greece, Spain.
Oh. I'm so sorry. I didn't know that was an acronym.
Oh, yeah, it's an acronym. It's an economic
Is it?
acronym. Yeah.
Pigs are where people go on holiday.
No, it's not about holidays. It's about the economies of those countries in Europe.
Oh, and are pigs doing poorly?
Yeah, they're like a strain on Europe. I don't know. Maybe that's less a thing now, but certainly 20, 15
That's
years ago.
rude, isn't it?
It's a little. I mean, they could have called them gips or spig,
Yeah,
but they
spig
went for pigs or gips.
Because Egypt, you go. Can I just say, Germany and France, wind your neck in. You're not all that. By the way, French cuisine, it's all right, but it's not brilliant.
Take
Sorry,
that, France.
Yeah, Lee doesn't like all of your very cream-heavy dishes.
I think you're not talking about nouvelle cuisine, though, are you? Or
No,
nouveau
I'm not, no.
cuisine.
Nouveau cuisine. No, I'm actually talking about the
Traditional,
I'm talking about traditional stuff. And in fairness, every time I've eaten out in France, I've had a totally delightful time. So that was a low blow, and I didn't even really mean it. It's
Yeah.
not my lived
But
experience.
the Germans,
And
no
Japan.
way.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Germans can keep their Lebkuchen. Just the only thing I can think of to say to those
Strudel,
funny,
surely.
awful. Do you know where I really didn't enjoy eating? Austria. It was schnitzel this and
Let's go through all the
schnitzel that.
European countries, and I bet you there are going to be some that we can't even remember, and some that we can't even be sure are part of Europe, or are hoping to be part of Europe, or like it gets pretty messy pretty quickly. I mean, Macedonia.
Okay, I've never eaten there, but I can tell you
I've
that
worked
in the
there.
pigs nations,
Yes,
I've eaten in all of the pigs nations, and every single one of them has been a delight.
it's true. It's true. Go to pigs.
So-
you want to eat well? Go to pigs.
Yeah. Anyway,
I want to go back to ladybirds, ladybug.
I'm getting there. So, Blackpool, coastal town.
I'd forgotten about Blackpool. I
we
tried
can't forget
so
Blackpool.
hard to forget Go.
Rude. Remember, my entire family's from Blackpool. So here we are, me and Bob, walking along, and it is an unseasonably, or actually probably a seasonably hot day. What I mean by that is it's a summer day in the UK,
Yeah,
which is
16
not
degrees.
usually very hot. Well, this was probably in the mid to high 20s. It was hot, hot, hot.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got whiff of a sort of a really unpleasantly bitter odour.
Oh.
And we were like, oh, what's that smell? And then within seconds of smelling this really unpleasant odour, there were hundreds and thousands of ladybirds surrounding us.
Oh, just you or everyone around you?
Everyone around us, there was just this swarm of ladybirds along the
It
front.
was an infestation. It was
a-
what's the
absolute-
biblical?
I
What's
have-
the biblical term?
A plague?
No, there's another one. Anyway, keep going. Wow.
Well, anyway, yeah, it was in my life, and this is obviously in the days before the internet, so you couldn't just go on Blue Sky or whatever's replaced Twitter to find out what's going on with the ladybirds. It was just a case of standing with lots of other people in Blackpool going, oh my God, this is disgusting. And Bob just shouted to me, that's the day I found out what ladybirds taste like. Because sure enough, we were both going, wow, and more than one of them landed in our mouths. And we didn't crunch them, but we spat them out. They were very bitter.
And was that the smell? The smell part's interesting.
Yeah, and there was like this precursor or what would a presage would be a prevision, wouldn't it? So what would a pre-smell be? A pre-factory. like an olfactory. Anyway,
yeah.
Nice. Anyway, there was a smell. It was that let us know. Pre-smell. The pre-smell was there before the actual bodies of them. Oh my Lord in heaven above!
Wow. Hey,
what a stinky bunch of tinies.
I mean, you know this, but many of our listeners might not know this. But we have a very broad listenership, and no doubt there are more than one ladybird/ladybug listeners amongst our listenership. So feel free, all those experts, that does not include you, Corbatron,
you're a medical doctor. You don't know about ladybirds, you cheeky.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you do, and then tell us anyway.
And then, or you could just pretend to be a ladybug/bird expert and let us know. Let us know, please. Let us know.
Please. Oh, there we go. That's my ladybird
That's a good story
to match your ladybird.
You know, I've actually got I've got a question for you.
Ask it, please do. Or ask it, if I'm trying to be less northern today, which apparently...
I like that one.
Please go ahead, ask the question.
A friend of mine used to say arcs, which I always found to be amazing.
Arcs?
Yeah.
Like an act, yeah. There's,
it's a Caribbean, I think it's a Caribbean kind of thing.
I believe it is, but I also believe it is. There's certain parts of New York as well that have the axe yourself. Yeah, because so there's a film that's based on a one-man show called Song Trilogy, written by Harvey Fierstein, and Harvey Fierstein is doing his monologue. He goes, "Axe yourself," and that used to make me giggle when I was younger.
Yeah, I watched that film years ago.
It's a lovely film where somebody asks Alan, which is the name of Harvey Fierstein's lover, played by Matthew Broderick. They're saying like, "Oh, what do you do?" He said, "I work in computers. I can never tell the difference between hardware and software." He said, "Oh, it's easy. It's the opposite of people. Remember that in computers, the software goes into the hardware, but in people, the hardware goes into the software." And I just think that's such a dirty joke. But every time somebody talks about software at work, I have that little bit of Alan in my head going,
Yeah, it does make me, because then there's, of course, firmware and wetware, and it's just keeps on going. So
it does keep going. I do.
Shall I hit you with your rhythm knitting stick?
Your best shot. Do you want to hear a knitting stick? Here you go. There's me counting you in with my knitting sticks.
I love that you had them so close. I actually did something today, this is not the story. I did something today which I don't think I've ever done before. I stole one of my own loaves rather than taking it down to the market. I thought, I don't have any bread, or I was running out. And so I thought, I'm going to have a fresh loaf of bread, a kind of basically the sort of simple sourdough that I never make for myself. And so it was nice. I cut it in half and had a slice, and oh my God, it was so nice, Lee Miller, if I don't say so myself, which I did.
Well, that's fine. I'm glad that you said it yourself, because it's important that you can get occasionally high on your own supply. Just while we're talking about this, before you get to the question, I made Bob crepe pancakes. No, this is a food-related thing. Bob had crepey type pancakes this morning, and I had fluffy type pancakes with chocolate chips this morning. That was how we broke our fast.
What?
Broke our fast.
Oh, breakfast. As in breakfast.
Yes, we broke our fast together.
You were fasting from 10 o'clock until 8 a.m.
Ooh, no, we were probably fasting from probably much, much earlier than that, probably more like 7:30.
Oh, 12 hours. 12-hour fasting.
Depends. Are you counting drinking wine? And then we definitely weren't fasting. Anyway, hit me with your rhythm stick.
No, I just actually, before I hit you with my rhythm stick, hit you, I...
Hit me slow and hit me quick. Hit me. Hit me. Sorry. Go ahead.
So this is from a book. It's from a book called Meditation for Mortals by Oliver Burkeman. I'm going to read you this thing. It's not long, but I'm going to read you, and the question is in there for you. And for me, I guess, but for you first. The psychotherapist, Bruce Tift, suggests the following reflection. Here's the reflection, just for you. Pick the trait that bothers you the most about yourself or your life, your tendency to procrastinate or get distracted perhaps, or your short fuse or your proneness to gloomy moods, and then ask yourself what it feels like to imagine that some version of that trait might dog you to the end of your days. What if I always have anxious reactions, the clench of my stomach, the sharp intake of breath, to minor events that don't worry them? My first response is to feel crestfallen, but soon thereafter comes a relief. I get to give up on that futile struggle, which means I needn't wait for it to be won before diving into reality. So, my question for you, Lee Miller, pick a trait that bothers you the most about yourself and your life and imagine that it's going to dog you till the end of your days, and tell me about it.
Do I only have to pick the one?
Oh, I mean, you can make a list if you want.
I mean, I think that anxious response is a really strong one for me.
Is it?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it comes from wanting to please people, as I don't know who the people are that I'm trying to please. It's not my parents. You know,
You mean it didn't come from them, or that you don't want to please them?
No, as in it's not. I didn't have parents who set ridiculously high standards. So
Gotcha.
there wasn't that sort of sense of like it's not something that comes from my parenting. It's like, oh, I was never good enough. Oh, I was always good enough. I was never really, you know, the klaxon sound of my childhood is, did you try your best? Well, that's enough.
Oh, it's so interesting.
That's, you know, that was literally all I was ever told.
And so you just
did you try your best? Yes.
What is
it's good enough.
I mean, the people pleasing thing. I'm never. You know, because I've heard you say that before, and I've also thought it about myself for sure, and we've talked about it a little bit in the past, but it's so weird, and maybe I brought this up at the time, which is it doesn't seem to be like a fault. Like, it seems to me a sort of innate part of being such social animals.
I think it becomes a fault where it becomes sort of an impediment to working well. And I don't mean working as in day-to-day 9-to-5 job of work.
Yeah, functioning as a human
being. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a guy in Totnes who sings folk songs on the street, and he hates me. He hates me with the kind of vociferousness that I cannot begin to put into words, and I can only assume that there is something that I have done that I am unaware of, but I am aware that he hates me.
How does he express his hatred?
He mutters things as I go past.
Does he mutter? Does he mutter to other people when they go past?
No. He spits on the floor when I go past. It's quite extreme.
Wow.
I don't know what it is. It's definitely a me thing.
Wow. Bob, no problem.
No, not at all. No problem at all. He doesn't throw things at the dog. It's just me. And what happens then, and Bob has commented on it, she says, why do you always talk a little bit louder? And why do you always sound a little bit like more
perky?
Unhinged?
Does she use the word unhinged?
Yeah, because I do. I'm like, so, anyway, then, wouldn't it be lovely? Oh, isn't that nice? Look, a rainbow. There's no rainbows in the sky, Lee. What are you doing? Are you having a stroke? And I'm performing.
I just love that, Bob, that normally you sound unhinged, but now you sound a little more unhinged.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Bob and I were talking about our characteristics today, and we both agreed that there is a certain level of chaos that we both bring into the world with ourselves. Different types of chaos, but we know that we are chaotic. We are not particularly ordered. We're not bounded or routinized. We're chaotic, and things are like, you know, just happen explosively, and it suits us really well. We were standing in the kitchen 2 nights ago, and I can't remember what Christmas hang about. Bob, what was the Christmas song we had to sing all the way through the other day? So thank you. So Bob walked in the house, and for some reason she just went, "Oh, holy night," and then I had to carry on with, "The stars are shining brightly." And we sang that song all the way through at the top of our lungs into each other's faces at about 7:30 in the evening. And we got to the end of it, very happy that we'd succeeded in managing to scream our way through this song. Then we looked at each other and went like, "That's not right, is it? That's not normal. People don't do this."
I love the sound of that. Also, you're gonna have all sorts of trouble with your mic levels when you're editing this. I know. But that I love that about. I love that about you both.
But it means that I
find that when I've been taught by when I've been in classrooms where you've been teaching, like when you'd come and did a workshop with my students, I remember that sort of, and also you did. I'd have one or two dogs in the workshop as well, as if you needed dogs for more chaos. But they did. But I remember you talking about the importance of Henry and William. It would have been, and for that kind of sense of undermining the potential earnestness of a classroom situation, or that you knew what you were doing. But it seems like you didn't need them at all, frankly.
I mean, probably not. Probably not upon reflection. So the idea of being more unhinged is like, so it turns up to 11 to go with the Spinal Tap filmography thingy. And why? This is a person, I do not know their name. I do not know where they live. I do not know anything about them. I do not know if this is a mental health issue and he has just hooked himself onto me
or
as a
you
bad
smell
object,
funny to him, like sometimes dogs
exactly.
have that,
Or maybe I did something. Maybe I rolled my eyes at one of his songs. Maybe I communicated that I thought he was not good at what he did at some point when he was feeling particular. I don't have any memory of this, but I've clearly done something to unsettle or make him unhappy. And yet, every time I see him, I perform like me. And that's where I think it becomes
crosses
pathological.
the line.
So that's when I think it's bad when you're trying to people please.
And so when you think about it as being this thing that's going to dog you, are you kind of square with that idea that it's going to dog you, that's going to be with you all your life?
I cannot imagine there will be a time when I am able to embrace RuPaul the drag queen's mantra of, unless them bitches be paying your rent, pay them bitches no mind. I don't think I will ever get there. I don't think I will be in a position to just go, they're not responsible for my health, wealth, or happiness, therefore I don't need to concern myself about them. And I think that will dog me to my dying day.
And you're okay with that?
Yeah, I have to be, because I can't imagine a way to shuck it off.
Yeah. I think mine. Oh, go on.
No, I was going to, and just to sort of to put a bow on it, I'm not even sure if I want to shuck it off.
Yeah, that's
because
the thing.
Yeah. So it's I can see where it becomes a pathology. I can see where it's unhelpful, but also I never want to be the person who doesn't want to help the person off the bus.
Or
I never want to be the person.
Oh
my God! Could you imagine?
Yeah.
And there are so many.
That's the other end of that kind of continuum, isn't it? I'm so self-absorbed and so don't give a shit about what the world thinks of me. I'll just do anything I want.
Yeah. What about you? What's yours?
I think mine is the whole clunk thing, actually.
Which just for listeners, I will have edited out something that Simon said earlier on, just because of where Simon and I are in our lives right now. There was a thing that was said that we don't need to repeat in public. It was perfectly innocent. However, it wasn't one of those.
Was innocent. It really was in the sense
super
that
innocent.
It was just,
absolutely.
It was
yeah. Just mistimed. And it was one of the. It's just to remind you all, if you've forgotten, that clunk is the noise of jaws hitting the floor. That Simon has just said something. So tell me about that.
I can. And there are lots of versions of it which just make my they just they give me the heebie-jeebies even just remembering them, the things I've said. And I'm sure I've shared with you some of them. I've definitely not shared with you a few which still I cannot tell people because I'm just mortified, and there would just be no, I really can't. But then I remember the first time, well, not the first time, the only time I was on my big OS, as they called it, or my overseas trip, my big OE in America, in Australia, they call it overseas experience, which was a sort of rite of passage, I guess, for middle class New Zealanders. I don't think, so people who had some kind of sense of journey in their lives, or meaning the capacity to seek that, which was to spend time overseas. And it is very common after you finish high school or after you finish university to go, okay, I'm off to Europe or whatever. And I was in that, and I made my way to Turkey. I got to Turkey. I was quite a roundabout way of getting there, and landed on an island where we went into a small little town, and some guys were playing cards. And I sat down amongst them and they taught me how to play this game. No one was speaking in English. And I was playing with all of that kind of capacity to, in a sort of social situation, to make people laugh and to be genial and to have an incredibly fun experience. But I also recognize that, especially in that context, I didn't know anything about them, I didn't know anything about the town, was that there's a certain amount of risk involved, right? This American guy I'd been traveling with, who I just sort of met a couple of, it was probably like 3 days before, but it felt like weeks, he said afterwards that what you did was amazing, but also he goes, it seems so risky what you were doing there in that sort of situation. And I think that's the thing that it will dog me, which is that desire to be animated and to make people feel good about themselves and to kind of be the kind of center in terms of a joking human being, whilst I just can't stand it about myself. Like, I really can't. So there's a very funny line between getting it right and getting it very wrong, and the clunking is the part of the getting it wrong. But I have a quintessentially sort of love-hate relationship with that, and I think I have for a long time. But I do think that I used to think that one day I wouldn't be like that, but I suspect that's just not the case. It's very interesting. I like the idea, I have to say, of squaring ourselves with ourselves, if you understand what I mean. That this is who I am, and there's something inherently unhealthy about the desire to be someone or something else. And yet there's also something really powerful about the kind of aspirational aspects of want to be more like this. So I love the sort of ambiguity or the tension inherent in those desires, or that kind of way of thinking about oneself.
Yeah. I think there is something beautiful about recognizing the capacity we have to grow. But I think there is also something equally beautiful in recognizing our limitations, or rather, maybe limitations is entirely the wrong word, recognizing our shape.
Yeah.
And that you can't turn a square into a circle, and you should just find what the value of the circle is, because obviously there's overlaps between squares and circles, but there's bits that kind of poke out the edges or don't have edges if you're a circle. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
it's beautiful. I did not so long ago. I went through all this sort of these various things that my mother had kept for me, and I threw most of them out. I think I told you this, but there's some I kept, and it's shocking how many of the ideas that I was writing and thinking about as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, are basically just the same now, thinking about the same things. Like, shocking. 40 years later. Like, I've had one idea. Anyway, I don't want to make it a negative thing, but there's something I really like what you said there. Hey, I want to say goodbye.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
forever.
I'll let you. No, till next week.
Till next week. See ya.
All right, take care, lovely. Bye.